All right, we're out here at the track today, and we're going to talk to Nate Vincent of FCP Euro. You're one of the lead drivers on this team, and we want to talk about safety today. Now, IMSA has some of the strongest safety standards. All of these pro sanctioning bodies have upped their game, and actually right down to like a Lemons or a Champ Car have actually upped their safety regulations, even vintage too, this last decade. So let's talk a little bit about how safety is handled at this level compared to amateur motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, I think the safety starts with the car, right? So the car is built by AMG and HWA, and obviously they have the flexibility to really instill some pretty stringent safety measures in the car. One of the first things you're going to notice is there's a little bit of a square cover on the top. That's actually an escape hatch. So if the car is situated in a position where they can't get the driver out and they're worried about a neck injury, they can actually pull the whole roof off and pull the driver directly out the top. Now, in addition to that, you're going to see the seat in here is actually kind of part of the shell of the car.
Can we take a look?
Yeah. So if you look here, you can see this is a full monocoque seat. You can see it's really, really thick. I mean, there's no movement in this thing at all. It's part of the safety shell of the car.
So that's manufactured right into the car.
It's manufactured right into the car. It bolts in 6 places. So 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 up top on the little roll bar. And then the other thing you'll notice is the seat does not move. So this seat doesn't go on sliders, anything like that. The pedals are actually moving. So one of the ways they've done this is just fix the seat to the car and let the pedals move. There's also other advantages there for weight balance. So if you have drivers that weigh a little bit different, you keep the center, their weight is in the same place, and you move the stuff to the driver.
And this cage is very intricate and very strong.
So this is actually an aluminum chassis car. So the whole body shell is aluminum. So the cage is actually a bolt-in cage. But as you can see, it's a proper bolt-in cage.
Yeah.
And like any car with an FIA certification like this car has, these cages have actually been designed and then crushed to make sure they held up to the test, and then they're implemented into the car.
That's got to make you feel a little better.
It does.
Because this car's fast.
It is a quick car. It is a quick car, and it's a heavy car too.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of mass thrown into things.
Yeah.
Now, additionally to that, obviously, driver safety, we have to keep up with our nets, just like anyone else. Harnesses, we do a lot of work to make sure our harnesses are good. We abuse them. Doing driver changes is not easy on the harnesses. So every time we go back to the track, we're not involved in the car, and we're checking all of those things.
And you use a FIA standard with IMSA, right?
FIA standard, there's a couple areas where you can have some SFI crossover. So for instance, this is a Safecraft window net. This is only SFI certified.
That's a slick window net.
But it allows us, for driver changes, this is really nice. When you're running across pit wall,
I like that.
You need to get it loose.
My vintage car doesn't have that kind of window net.
And obviously we use bungees in places to kind of keep things from going.
Yeah.
And that's just really for driver changes to make sure you don't sit down on the harnesses and you can get them, buckle in, all that sort of stuff. So another thing that on the car that we talk about is obviously the fuel cell. That's a big thing. Making sure that if it's in a bad accident, that the fuel doesn't go anywhere throughout the car.
So that's manufactured when the car sells it. The car comes with that cell built right in. You don't put your own cell in the way you want to put it in.
This comes with the cell in it.
Yeah.
But most of these parts are manufactured by the same people you put in your other race cars. The cell is ATL, so a household name in fuel cells.
Sure is.
And then in addition to all the stuff on the car, obviously we have the fire system too, which is really no more than a normal car's fire system. It's just electronic and a little easier to use, which I think they do mostly for track workers, just so it's really clear, they can get to it quickly, and keep the show on the road.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, we can talk about helmet stuff and some of the stuff they've done with us. So one of the things that IMSA is really strict on is the weight of your helmet. Because the cars are faster, the tires have a lot of grip. Obviously, the impacts when things go south.
Let's not talk about that.
Tend to be a little more severe. So one of the things IMSA is really stringent on is making sure that the helmet and the weight of everything stays down. And so one of those things is we actually have to use earbuds. So I know some helmets come with built-in speaker systems in the helmets. They're actually illegal in IMSA because of the weight of them. Another thing that you'll see here, we use carbon stuff just for driver fatigue, but you don't need to.
Plus, it's cool.
It is cool. Honestly, it's one of those things that you feel like, do you really need it? But sometimes when you get out of the car and you feel your neck afterwards, you realize how beneficial
After a 2-hour
it is.
stint, you need it.
It makes a big difference. And then the other thing you'll see is we have an eject system on the helmet. So right here, this guy basically allows, if there is a neck injury or they're worried of a neck injury, they can put a syringe on here and they actually pump this up, and there's a little bag up on the top of the helmet, and it actually lifts the helmet off.
So they don't sit and jiggle your head.
Exactly, so they're not pulling on your neck and doing anything there. But aside from that, this is really pretty simple stuff. It's your normal, Stilo helmet. Nothing.
Stilo's a great brand.
So Stilo, I mean, we have Sparco gear, so you can see, fire suit, the normal stuff.
Yeah.
And then, safety extends past just the drivers and the occupants of the car.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the crew and some of the stuff you guys do.
So anyone going over the wall during a fueling pit stop needs to have fire suits on.
So that's come down into the club level too.
Yep, exactly. And then anyone who's going over, who's actually doing fire or doing anything to do with fueling, has to have a visor down and a full fireproof helmet on. Yeah. The tire guys can get away with wearing a helmet and goggles. Okay. But they still need to wear a balaclava under that. So it allows them a little more dexterity. They can see the lug nuts and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't see much with a full face helmet.
Yeah, and if it fogs up, we all know from standing there with the fire, everything fogs up and you can't see anything. So I mean that's really the key. But IMSA does a really, really good job of being reasonable with the rules. They know what's going to keep the driver safe. They really enforce those things. They're checking the cars very carefully. And it does make you feel safe when you're going out there with 40, 50 some odd cars, knowing that everyone has the same equipment and everyone's kind of taking that same precaution as you are.
So not all of our readers are lucky enough or good enough to reach at the IMSA level. So what could you tell a club racer just starting out, or a Lemons racer, or a Champ Car racer, that might help them be safer?
I think the first thing I would say is just double check everything. If something doesn't look right or something wiggles a little bit, just take a closer look at it. I've driven plenty of cars. I've had the luxury of doing that, and you get in some cars and you kind of get that icky feeling, like I'm not
comfortable
sure.
Here.
Feel that out and let that speak to you. Don't just say it's going to be okay. So I mean, as far as the club level, you got to make sure you're equipped right. So make sure your Hans is gated correctly. Make sure your helmet's good and safe. Make sure your suit is good. You got to really make sure all of your personal gear is good, because that's what's going to protect you in an incident. Yeah. As far as the cars go, things I see the biggest mistakes on, especially in club race cars, everyone focuses so much on the energy on the cage. The cage is usually fine, but things like seat mounts, harness mounts,
we see that.
things like that. It's the accessories that go along with the cage where we see people usually cut corners, and that's really what leads to issues on track. And then the last thing is, you don't ever want to be in this situation, but if you're at a club race or even a pro race and there's a car that's written off bad incident, go look at it, because a lot can be learned from other people's incidents. I've seen club race cars where the driver's seat's ripped right out. I've seen things, engines getting thrown from the cars, and you see it enough, you go, okay, what could I do when I design this, or when we're putting this car together in the garage, that we could keep that from ever happening.
That's a really good point.
We always think, obviously you want everything bolted down super solid in the car. Anything that can move, I always say anything that can move a millimeter is going to move an inch by the end of a race. Yeah. So keep everything good and solid, but don't be afraid to use tethers. Straps hold things down. We have a bunch of ballast we have to run in this car, and we actually tether it down just in case that came loose. There's one line of defense between that and that, coming across the car and hitting the driver.
All right, well, I know you're about ready to go out there and qualify.
Yep.
Good luck, and thank you very much for talking to us. If you like this sort of stuff, grassrootsmotorsports.com has all the details, and we do videos like this every week, so please subscribe and like our channel.
Support brands that support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.